Hi, everybody. Tim Hughes here. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. I'm here with Anna. And today we're going to talk about why culture is so important in the workplace. And I'm really interested to get in and hear what you've got to say, Anna, because we've delayed in actually having this conversation. So I want to get in and talk to you. Before we do that, I always ask my guests right up front, where can people find you? Because if you get any spark of inspiration, they want to come and check you out and stuff. So where can people find you?
Well, thank you, Tim, for making the time to have this conversation. I really love that. And it's really the topic that I care for much more than anything else. So they can find me on LinkedIn. It's easy access. I mean, I talk a lot about this topic as well as other topics that are very much related to the life of the employee, but also to the efficiency of the company.
Excellent. Thank you. And you're very social. I mean, I contacted you over LinkedIn and you responded within like 24 hours or something. So, I mean, you're in a time difference for me because you're in California, right? You've got the sun and so why don't you just tell us a little bit about your journey? You know, how have you got here? Because I interview a lot of women, and I get women watching as well. And it's funny. I interviewed someone like the other week, and what they had was you're an inspirational person. You know, what we need are way more women that are out there that we can look up to and say, I want to be like that. I want to aspire to that. So how did you get where you are today?
Well, thank you very much for the question, because that really uncovers also the thing that we don't make it easy for women really to help out for society. And that's for sure. Well, I started off working while studying. I was very much trying to earn my living and also finance my studies. I was very much involved in the beginning in marketing and sales. And then I very much turned to have my postgraduate studies in human resources. And this is how I really very much developed myself within the human resources area, but coming very much from the development aspect of it. So I was very much developed in how you really have the design within the organization, have really the people the talent that you need in order to do the business that you want. And very quickly, very much specialized myself in organizational development. Involved in organizational design, process reengineering, and specialized very much in how you change things from the way that they are to the way that you want them to be. Yeah. And this is how I really very much became today what we call, let's say, a transformation manager, or really dealing with change within organizations. Wasn't easy. Because I mean, as women, we make it tough and tougher to contribute. And during pandemic, women were really in the most difficult situation because the burden of everything within the family usually is on the shoulder of women.
And it's certainly in the pandemic. I think that and it's going to be interesting to see what happens when we go back, because I think that. One of the things that's happened is that men have had to step up because they've been working from home, and therefore they may have actually got involved in some of the duties that have happened in the home. I wonder if that will carry on if they have to go back to the office, and that's something that we'll see. So you've been involved in organizational building organizations. So what is it that how are you seeing that change today in terms of where it was 10 years ago to the fast forward through the pandemic, or about where you think it's going to go in the future?
Well, I do believe that at this point, organizations have been much more acknowledging the factor that employees have and how they feel about the company is a significant factor for their success. And this is different than 10 years ago. And that's a wonderful achievement that has happened due to organizations that have worked very hard in order to make corporations understand how important that is. And that this kind of relationship of how an organization is really treating their people has an impact on how successful they are on their business. This has been realized I'm not really sure that the vice versa relationship is also realized as well. So, and I would like very much to talk about that.
Okay, so why not? I mean, I talk to a lot of people, and it's funny when they actually say they've got, hey, we've got a diverse company, we've got great loads of training, and they reel off all these things, and I say yes, but from the outside, I can't see that. And so look, already we're having a battle for talent. I mean, we've gone from people saying people being laid off to there's now 1 million jobs going here in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in a situation where there's lots of opportunity. So how is it that the organizations are going to get the talent that they want? What is it they need to do?
Well, it is true that if we understand that there is no really a switch on and switch off between work and life. And I mean, especially during the pandemic, that was very real. So the work is very much integrated with your life. So what happens within a company is very much your own life. With that saying, I mean that the conditions that someone really enjoys or does not enjoy is very much affecting his or her personal life and family life as well. There was a lot of, let's say, there is a gap between what an executive might consider as a good culture or a good welcoming environment compared to what the workers really want. Because a lot of times it's the executives really consider as good culture the benefits that they provide or the amenities that they have or the aesthetics of the company. While the workers, what they really want is very much conditions that allow them to empower themselves, to work to their best abilities, to be trusted, and also very much to feel safe in a learning environment that they can really try things. And these kind of conditions are not, I mean, research shows that are not very much provided. And not only that, there are situations that go even to the worst direction, that we have a leadership that very much depends on presentism. I want you to be here because I want to know what you're doing. So
yeah. Where's Steve gone? Yeah, he's had a 2-hour lunch break. He can't do that.
Yeah, okay, of course, yeah. And micromanaging people, really getting involved because there is lack of trust. And these are conditions that, I mean, and they go even to microaggressions, lack of an inclusive environment. So yeah, you might have diversity, but people really don't dare to speak up. So is that really diversity? No, because people do not feel safe over there and they cannot express themselves. So this kind of environment has a very good corrosive effect, not only within the workplace, but also outside it, because it has the power very much to create, to harm our society. And I will explain why. This environment of distrust is not only the environment that creates a lot of mental health problems and well-being, because you feel depressed working within such an environment. So you cannot really function for our society. So that is a society problem. It's not just a workplace problem. But also, when you really cultivate this mistrust within organizations, you really replicate that at an environment broader than the corporation, because disengaged employees really develop mistrust for the society overall. And what is this that we create? We create a society that has a division, fear, a lack of inclusion. Is this the society that we want to live in? And with that, I would like to say that we very much talk about the sustainability of a corporation and how it really affects the environment with the practices that the corporation has. What about not just the policies, but also the practices regarding respecting the person, allowing to become fully at work, and really having the leadership that will allow the people, will trust the people, and will allow the people really to put the best of themselves, to flourish within the organization. What about this kind of responsibility that the corporation has that allows them really to have trust and also go back to their family in good health and in good mental health?
Oh yes, and I agree with you. I've worked for organisations where the objective was basically to give everybody an office that looked like Google.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, yeah, there's actually more to life. I'm quite happy to sit in a cubicle, if and it's not about a whole list of benefits. It's about do people? I'm going to use the word love. Do people at work actually love you? I'm using that word on purpose because in fact, people can actually work with you and respect you. But one of my colleagues tells me, he used to be work for a big lawyer firm, and his dog was ill, and his manager said, "I don't care about your dog. I need you in the office here." And it was like, and it was that point where he realized, he wasn't going to stay there, and we need to be looking after that we talk about the big resignation or the big quit, and I mean I don't know whether that's actually, there was talk about lots of people resigning in September. Whether that's happened or not, I don't know, but people through the pandemic, they're making different decisions about the way that they, what do I want to do in my life? And those decisions also, in fact, impact on work.
Oh, what you say resonates with me so much. I mean, I live in the Bay Area, in the San Francisco Bay Area, and Google complex is very much next door. And
Okay, yeah, I've been there.
yeah, and there was so much people that left the area during the pandemic because they wanted better conditions, moved away, and they very much enjoyed living in a larger house, having the opportunity to enjoy the company of their children, their dog and cat, and so on. And when you really say to someone that I don't care about your dog, that means very much that you don't care about that person, because that's the life of the person. Okay.
Yeah.
And we're very much talking about this great resignation, and a lot of people really have a huge, I mean, it's so hard to find the people that you want right now, because people are very much more eclectic in which company they would like to join. I would like very much to say that people have realized through that hardship that humanity is going through with the pandemic, that there are some values in life that are very much not negotiable,
Yeah.
and they really fight for them. I was very much, I think that a book that was written by Jeffrey Pfeffer on how important impact corporations have in the life of people, called Dying for a Paycheck. It was very much.
I've heard about that. I've not read it, but
yeah, I mean, Jeffrey Pfeffer is a wonderful organizational development professor in Stanford here, and he was very much talking in 2018, which was early enough, on how big the responsibility is for the corporations really to take care not just about everything else, but also mental health of the people and the health itself. And the practices that leadership might be implementing is really harmful to the health of the people. So, which is daring to say, but very true.
So we're here to talk about culture in the workplace. So what's your view about culture, and what's your mechanism around culture?
Well, there are some factors that you really go after. One thing is very much to audit the situation and understand what is really going well and what is not really going well. And in order to do that, you really ask the people to get it. But it's different angles that you can analyze this information. And also you really try to understand what are the practices that are over there. So you don't have to hear just opinions. You have also to check out hard measured things. What are the policies that you have over there? Do you fulfill, let's say, the absolute minimum of things? And last but not least, even more important than anything else, leadership behaviors. And the mixture of all these three things can really help us understand what is the situation. And when you do, you really have to act upon that. And the areas that you act upon is very much how inclusive the work environment is. And it's not, I mean, you can hire really every culture, every race, everyone, every different ideas. Do you really allow them the space to express themselves? And with that, you really have to work hard to see how this expressing themselves is being integrated within the management systems. So this is a very important exercise that you take. And last but not least, how unbiased communication and practices are. And I mean, sometimes it's not only unbiased, but also so poor and non-existent. So you really need to make sure that there are consistent communications of a respectful level, and also very much of an inclusive nature. And I would like to say at this point that having a good culture, it very much starts from the top.
Yes.
So I always say that the culture is the shadow of the leaders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it? Do you see this as coming? My question was around, should there be, does this come from human resources or a people officer, or should you even have something like a culture officer who, because you know that you are going to get people, you need to get culture coming from the leadership, but you also need to get people to do things as well, don't you? So is that, where do you see that coming from?
Yeah, usually it's burdened on the human resources, and especially at this time that human resources is really doing and redoing policies that are changing by the moment. It's very tough to be done. So I believe that having people that are much more specialized, it will help. And we've seen that with diversity and inclusion, that a lot of corporations have specific roles devoted on that they help curate the situation on that very important issue. So I see that being very much developed towards that direction for culture as well. So yet culture is much more broader, and it very much cuts across every level of the every level, laterally and horizontally as well as vertically within the organization, and it's much more tough. And you need very much a strong, really officer, a stronger. Within the context of having very much a good knowledge of that, but also at the same time being very much with the executive presence required in order to affect how things are being done.
And what about you've also talked about the corporations and the impact on society? Is that where we're kind of seeing the corporation inside out? So it's not just about what we're doing as a leader and the culture internally, but that's going to impact on the culture externally and vice versa.
Yeah, because if we accept the fact that a person is not really different when goes out of the workplace, so what we do within the workplace has a huge impact outside in the society. And when we create a society of mistrust and a society of division and fear and lack of empathy, this is not something that anyone wants. And I don't believe that any of the corporate leaders really want that as well. No. So by the moment that we realize that, we act upon that. There is the power over there to influence how people think, feel, and act. And not just within the workplace, but also much further and beyond that. I always say that the corporations really produce much more than just their products and services. They produce mindsets. They produce culture.
Yes, and I think that's I love that, because it's true. We do produce products or software or whatever, but we do actually produce mindsets, because we've all been in a situation where we've said, I know this because of this particular mentor, or I'm doing this because of this particular person. And I think sometimes we forget the importance of and the impact that we as individuals can make on other people.
That's true. And by the moment that this is realized, it's gonna really be acted upon. And that would be really the dream. And imagine if a corporation has the vision really to keep this wonderful earth intact by all the harmful things that we do, to really preserve the environment and help really the climate being really not crazy as it is right now. What about humanity? What about society and the people, the way that people really develop themselves, act? That's really a wonderful vision that the corporation can have.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the name of the book. There's a book that came out recently, which I read, which actually the way that we run society at the moment is that we go to work, we pay our taxes, and the government takes those taxes and does stuff with them. Some things we may agree with, and some things we may disagree with. But some of those things could be planting trees, or helping people to move away from petrol to electric cars, or whatever it is. But what this book was saying is, why isn't it that we're actually starting at the beginning, that the corporations are actually doing this? If we want to have more trees and have better cars, why aren't the corporations actually doing this rather than the governments? And it's a different view on the world, that we could be taking culture, our mindset, because I love that word that you used, and actually building that out and building a better society from our place of work.
And there are corporations that they really put a lot of effort towards that have a corporate social responsibility much more enhanced compared to others. I was fortunate enough to be part of some of such corporations, and they do really have they make they have their stake on how our society is being shaped, and they really take a part of their margin to do that. And I believe this is the direction that the corporations should take.
And Anna, I just love your manifesto on this, and the fact that we have to have people standing up and saying this, so that people go around, yeah, actually, do you know, that's quite a good idea, because we all want to live in a better world, and we can see, most of us can see that there's certain things need to be fixed, and we can actually be doing that from actually within our companies.
Exactly. And companies, are really very much spreading in so many aspects of people's lives, so they can really influence so many different factors that affect society. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on today and talking about that, Anna. It's been insightful. I mean, before you came on and we went live, you said you had a manifesto, and I can see why, because there's a lovely dream here, let's build a movement.
Yeah, and some corporations are really doing that.
Yeah. I can see, and I spent a little while in San Francisco in 2019, and it's a beautiful place, and it's very different from a lot of places in the world, because there's a particular mindset there in California. But as with a lot of things, as the Red Hot Chili Pepper said, it's about Californication. And sometimes what we can do is we can take some of those good ideas and we can spread them into other places in the world. The UK, for example.
I would love this Californication thing to happen. Yeah.
Anna, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us today. Remind people where they can get hold of you.
LinkedIn is the best place.
Okay, LinkedIn. Right. Okay, we will do that. Anna, thank you so much for coming on and talking today, and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Anna. Bye.